Hello, I'm Thomas.
And I'm Bryan.
Within this video, we will be going over ancient Egypt within the Grade 11 history curriculum.
Some of the topics we will be going over are the eras of ancient Egypt, the culture and religion of ancient Egypt, as well as the monuments built during different periods of ancient Egypt.
Let's get started. Ancient Egypt was an empire that ruled over the Nile River for over 2,300 years. Today we will be talking about the three main eras of ancient Egypt: the Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom. The Old Kingdom. The Old Kingdom is the first era of Egypt's dominance over the southern Mediterranean. It started as the pharaoh became a descendant of a deity, who was worshipped to provide the annual flooding of the Nile River. The pharaoh was to be the link between man and God. The worship of the pharaoh was effective in creating a central government. The Old Kingdom lasted about 500 years and was marked by the creation of monuments including the pyramids at Giza and the Sphinx. The fall of the Old Kingdom was due to a time of instability when a drought had stopped the annual harvest of the Nile River. Along with this, most of the rulers of ancient Egypt ruled for little over a year, and the lack of a true leader led to the end of this era.
The Middle Kingdom lasted 400 years and is known as the full extent of the Egyptian Empire. Under Pharaoh Mentuhotep II, ancient Egypt had conquered Canaan, half of modern Egypt, the Sinai region, Syria, and northern Sudan. The Middle Kingdom was marked by a particularly large flooding of the Nile and the revival of the central government as well as the incorporation of provincial governments.
Here's a map of the Middle Kingdom in green. New Kingdom. Lasting just under 500 years, the New Kingdom was the last era of ancient Egypt's dominance over the southern Mediterranean. It reunited most of the Middle Kingdom, minus parts of Syria. Ancient Egypt underwent a change in its religion when Amenhotep IV decided to worship one god. However, this reformation of religion was short-lived as the reversion to worshipping many deities took place after this pharaoh's death. The New Kingdom may be well known for Ramses II, the pharaoh found in the Bible.
This is a map of ancient Egypt in the New Kingdom. Conflicts in the New Kingdom. Throughout ancient Egypt's history, it had been surrounded by warring nomads and tribes. The Egyptians were able to conquer much land from others with technological advances such as bronze works and chariots. The New Kingdom ended with defeats by Libyan tribes, Assyrians, and pirates, leading to the loss of land. The loss of land led to the loss of revenue, as the New Kingdom ended with an economic recession.
Gods. The gods played a significant role in Egyptian life. It was believed that gods brought the flooding of the Nile and the bounties of the harvest. Rulers also relied on gods to keep order. A good example of this was when King Tut changed his name from Tutankhaten to Tutankhamun. Aten was the name of the sun god in the monotheist religion. Tutankhaten incorporated the name of Aten. This meant that King Tut did not believe in a monotheist religion, but rather supported the religion of many gods. This change meant that even pharaohs relied on the support of clerics.
Pyramids. The pyramids of ancient Egypt are some of the most recognizable structures in the world. First built to protect the body of King Djoser in the afterlife. The pharaohs were buried in pyramids of many different shapes and sizes, from before the beginning of the Old Kingdom to the end of the Middle Kingdom. There are about 80 pyramids known today from ancient Egypt. The three largest and best preserved of these were built at Giza at the beginning of the Old Kingdom. The most well-known of these pyramids was built for the pharaoh Khufu. It was known as the Great Pyramid. The pyramid recreates the mound of earth that emerged from the ground at the beginning of time according to Egyptian mythology. This shows the importance of rebirth and afterlife in Egyptian religion.
The Great Pyramid. As said before, the Great Pyramid is the largest and most recognizable of Egypt's many pyramids. Built for King Khufu around 2589 BCE, it is made of 2.3 million limestone blocks taken from the banks of the Nile River. Its construction took over 20 years to build, and it is still taller than that of the Arc de Triomphe, the Statue of Liberty, and St. Paul's Cathedral. This picture shows that at 138 meters tall, the Great Pyramid is taller than the Arc de Triomphe, which is 45.9 meters tall, the Statue of Liberty, which is 92 meters tall, and St. Paul's Cathedral, which is 109.7 meters tall.
Now let's explain mummification. This is an artist's rendering of the mummification process. Mummification was a ritual that ensured people eternal life. The earliest ancient Egyptians buried their dead in small pits in the desert. The heat and dryness of the sand dehydrated the bodies quickly, creating lifelike and natural mummies. Later, the ancient Egyptians began burying their dead in coffins to protect them from wild animals in the desert. However, they realized that the bodies placed in coffins decayed when they were not exposed to the hot and dry sand of the desert. Over many centuries, the ancient Egyptians developed a method of preserving bodies so they would remain lifelike. This process involved embalming the bodies and wrapping them in strips of linen. Today, we call this process mummification.
Mummification continued. People were usually surrounded by their personal belongings, spellbooks, and a map of hell when they were mummified. The wealthy would usually be able to have model servants to help them live in the afterworld. These model servants were made of clay and were believed to incarnate when a person needed their help. Spellbooks were placed with the deceased and protected them from the dangers of the underworld. The map and spellbook, placed with the deceased as well, was to allow them to navigate through the many dangers of hell, as they searched for Osiris, the god of the underworld.
Death and the afterlife. People believed in an afterlife where hearts are weighed. According to religion, 42 gods interrogated the deceased about his or her past. 2 questions were asked of the deceased in order to determine whether or not they were worthy of an afterlife. These 2 questions were, have you experienced joy in your life, and have you produced joy in the lives of others? Thoth, the god of wisdom, declared the response as a truth or a lie. After the interrogation, the deceased's heart is placed on a scale as the truth and lies are weighed. Those who answered truthfully achieved peace in the afterlife, and those who didn't were denied a second chance.
Since we're talking about death and the afterlife, we figured we'd talk about a divine power within the ancient Egypt religion. This divine power was cats. Cats played a key role as gifts to the feline goddess of the sun and the moon, Bast. They also killed pests in Egypt, and as a result controlled plagues. A cat's role as a sacrifice and exterminator gave cats as many rights as a lower-class Egyptian. As a matter of fact, they were often buried through the process of mummification.
Ancient Egypt was an empire where over 90% of it was found in the desert. Only a few parts of Egypt was inhabited by many people. Being far from the Silk Route and close to Greek islands and other port cities meant that Egypt could only rely on agriculture to fuel its economy and empire.
The Nile River was important for the development of the Egyptian Empire. It was the Nile River that was the foundation of the first towns and acted as the main road for transportation during the eras of ancient Egypt. The Nile River was relatively calm compared to other bodies of water and was the basis of a large agriculture-based economy. The wealth that came from farming made for a very tolerant religion that believed in a perfect heaven with an afterlife for all. The large harvests also made wine a staple in ceremonies and events. The Nile River's influence on East Africa allowed Egypt to conquer parts of Nubia and exert influence over the Horn of Africa.
Egyptian culture composed of 2 subcultures, hieratic and demotic. Hieratic culture was found in everyday activities like trade and land agreements between civilians. Demotic culture was found in legal and religious activities that were rare or special. The use of 2 subcultures was emphasized in the importance of academia. Scribes were often given freedoms that would otherwise be given to rulers. One example of this is when a scribe named Horemheb, the elder, even became a king. The large surplus of harvests meant that wines were commonly made. Wines were considered staples at rituals and parties. This made parties very common occurrences in ancient Egypt and made for a very optimistic culture.
Thanks for watching. For more info, visit the websites listed in our bibliography.